Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Pond, Executive Editor of Awards at TheWrap, and we're happy to have you here for our 2023 International Awards screening of Souls of Coyote with director Áron Gauder and producer Réka Temple. Now, before we introduce our guests, let's take a look at the trailer.
Get your men ready. We need to start tomorrow morning.
At first we knew but darkness, a pitch black void. There was nothing, only a dream.
And here the hearts they could break through stones, but here the cold it cuts to bone.
Who are you for?
Don't you know? It's your dream.
Coyote, these are your creatures. You made them. You are responsible for these two.
Something's changed here. They don't need a creator anymore.
Don't believe a word he says!
What's going on with the cell service?
Send it over right away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were living in the 21st century.
Grandpa, was that the end?
Of course it is not.
We cannot live without each other.
What could possibly be so important to justify drawing blood?
Back to the forest! I really messed up.
Did you bring them here?
I fear something's on the horizon. We will not run!
Nothing is eternal but the earth and the mountains.
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce director Áron Gauder and producer Réka Temple. Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
And thank you for bringing us a beautiful film. So this is an animated film. It's also the Hungarian Oscar entry, and it's based on Native American folklore. So I'm wondering, Áron, how did a Hungarian filmmaker get so interested in Native American folklore that he wanted to immerse himself in it the way you have?
Yes. So it started when I was a kid. I was always really in love with Native American tales. What we had access to at that time, it wasn't really authentic, but still it was so interesting and mysterious to me. And later on, I got more and more information, and I digged in deeper, and I loved their way they relate to nature, and I love to be in nature. So this way I got really connected with this culture. And once I thought there was a Hungarian musician who was really into Native American culture too. He was a guitar player. He's famous in Hungary. And once he published a book with several, maybe 18 different tales from different tribes. And they were authentic and with good illustration for kids. And that gave us the idea to start doing a series with tales. And we started that. But later on, we decided to make a feature film.
Áron introduced me the tales, the Native American tales, and we started with the first episodes, Coyote and the Rock, and then Coyote and the White Man. And these both short films were beautiful. And then we came across to the creation myth, and it was like larger and bigger than just an episode. So we started to think about the feature film, and then started financing. And then we were fortunate enough to get the finance and get into the production. So it was really like a 10 years journey on this Native American.
How were you able to get the financing? How did you put the deals together?
Well, it was not easy, but we have made a lot of pitching everywhere in Europe, also in Canada, also in the States, and finally we were fortunate enough because the Hungarian Film Fund funded the pre-production, then we get into development, script development, and then by our own initiative and by our own investment, we started the pre-production. We really believed in the film, and then the Hungarian film, we managed to convince the Hungarian Film Institute that this film worth funding, and then we just jumped into production.
Áron, what was it about this particular legend, basically the creation myth, that made you think that's more than a short?
So first of all, while we were working on a script, Standing Rock happened in the Standing Rock Reservation. The pipeline, Dakota Access Pipeline, was built, and I saw on the news that the protesters are trying to stop it, but the police are shooting them with tear gas and like water haze. So that was in the news, and I thought that this is not, like an ancient story, which is nothing to do with how we live now, but this is still happening, and what these people are protecting there is water against oil, and they have a message we all have to understand. So that was a really a big motivation to make this story, retell this story, and the creation was good because everybody knows the creation from the Bible, and this story is different, but also a bit similar. So it's really interesting because the audience, it's not totally new, but it's a story retold in a more. I think it's a better one now. So everybody has to understand that we're not the crown of the creation, and in this story, the humans are not the crown of the creation. They are just one of the created beings. And I think this is a huge difference.
Réka, when you're dealing with financing and all of this, are you also then having sort of creative conversations with the people that you're going to?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I leave the decision up to the director, but I'm kind of a hands-on producer. So we really enjoyed working on this film. So I know exactly which animator has done which scene. And so I'm very much close to the production. And I think also we produced the film during COVID. So it was a special experience because everyone was locked down and we were like connected via internet and via online Zoom meetings. And we really felt the connection. So everyone was locked down, but our creativity could be free in a way. So I always believe that the way we are producing a film, it's seen on the screen, and it's very true for this film as well. So we had a lot of emotions during production, and I think it really reflects on what we see on screen today.
How big was the crew? You had a lot of people working on this, didn't you?
Absolutely. We had 150 artists working on the film, and we also had voice talents and musicians and sound editors and sound people. But 150 people have been animating, drawing, and compositing the film.
Áron, so how tricky is it to keep track of it, what everybody's doing everywhere?
Yeah, so this is that was a professional studio. I never worked in a big studio before. Like I made my films in much smaller environment, so it was good that I could trust that everything goes well. It went easily. It wasn't too big production, so we didn't get lost in the communication. So that was enough. This weekly meeting.
Yeah, every week we have seen, like, we wanted really everyone to see every step of the production. So it was really like a long production meeting, but we wanted all colorists, all animators to see all wraps, all cleanouts, all colored scene, all compositing, every scene in work in progress, so that everyone can feel what the other people are just doing.
Yeah, right. So what were the keys for you in the character design? Because I feel like some of the characters feel very much straight out of Native American art, and other characters have less of a Native American influence in the design. Mm-hmm. Right. So
And also, honestly, there is a rule in animation that we really have to follow the character designs and the turnarounds. But for these specific films, it was not a requirement. We really told to animators and also to cleanup people just to feel the scene. And if it's a little bit different from one another, it's not a problem because we wanted to transmit the emotions and the real expression of the scene. So, of course, we had very fixed character designs, but not too much. So we had left a certain freedom for the artist to live with the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So did all the characters designs start Áron, with your drawings?
Yes, and they were inconsistent. So with the animals, I had a lot of sketches. And after me, there were some people who are a bit more accurate, and they tried to find, the final form. And they had this trouble to make them being able to turn around and see it from the back, from top. So there was a big work after that. After I made all these sketches, that how is it possible to make them move in 3D? So it's a long process, and it softens a little bit, and they evolve.
What is it that's appealing about the coyote character to you? I mean, this is interesting because in Killers of the Flower Moon, there's a scene where Lily Gladstone's character calls Leonardo DiCaprio's character a coyote, and it's a significant scene. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually talked to Lily about that, and she was saying, yeah, the coyote is a trickster figure throughout Native American folklore. I mean, was there something about that character that really appealed to you as well?
Yes, I think coyote represents our subconscious mind, or also our desire or bad side, let's say, and the side we all have in us, but we don't want to acknowledge, or we want to push it down, but it's there. And the old man, the creator, is the other side, the aware, sober part of us, and what we more relate to. So there, old man and coyote is the same figure. It's like a shapeshifter. Here, it appears coyote appears in his dream, but somehow for me, it's representing our desires and deep emotions and motivations. What is inside us.
I mean, it's odd to say, did you try to be accurate because you're dealing with myths and fiction, but were you conscious of doing things that, maybe departed from what the original myths were?
Yes. So, it's difficult because the original story, which I started with, is beautiful, but there is so many repetition. It's a long story they tell to people when they're sitting around the fire. And if you want to make a feature film, you have to somehow translate it to a different media. And any book, if you put on film, you have to make some changes. So we were aware to that we changed the original story, but we tried to be loyal to the soul of it, let's say. And all the elements we borrowed from different stories. What coyote do with the buffalo or with the ducks, it's from different coyote stories. So they were not, like made up. It's more like a collage.
Réka, for you, what were the biggest challenges as you went through the production of this movie?
I think choosing a feature film, especially for animation, is choosing a way of life. And I think 10 years of my life, it really, it was very impactful, and I think in a good way. When we're speaking about a film and the myth, 8 to 10 hours per day, it gets, it gets into shape, even in your life or your professional and personal life. I think the biggest challenge was to transmit this feeling and the spirit of the film to the whole crew. And we have a saying in Hungarian, when we finished the film, we were super happy that we have finished the feature film. It's always a great feeling, but it's also a feeling of emptiness. And we have a saying in Hungarian that one of my eyes is crying because it was over, and my other cry is smiling because it was over. So it's always a big challenge. We were really enjoying producing this film. It was a special experience.
Áron, for you, were there particular things that were the trickiest to accomplish, the biggest challenges?
For me, the biggest challenge was to stay on the same track and keep the aim, because it was a long process. 8 years, really long, and there was a point I gave up, and then they gave us money, and then you just wanna do your best in the moment, because otherwise, if you're planning too far in the future, you can't handle 8 years being in the same movie.
I can absolutely relate what Áron says, that we had to stay on the track, and with 150 people with us along the way. And of course, there are always up and down and high and lows, and we had to keep the fire burning. And it's always a challenge, and it's in a way it's very interesting, and also sometimes stressful, and sometimes you feel love, and sometimes you're impatient, but then we had to focus on moving on the right way.
Mm-hmm. Right. When you started on this, did you have any idea that it was going to take this long?
Yes, a feature film, an animated feature film, it takes years.
Yes, I once I made a feature film that was a bit shorter, but the technique was much easier. That was maybe 2 or 2.5 years. And later on, I worked on a film for 6 years, and we couldn't finish. So I knew that you have to engage yourself with it. So this is really important that you engage yourself with something you really love, because otherwise you can't, you lose your ambition and energy.
I feel like music is very important to this film. I mean, there are a lot of sequences that are set not necessarily to songs, but to chants, to do all kinds of different things. I mean, was that important to you going into this?
Yes, I listen a lot of Native American music. I mean, the original, the ancient ones. I know a lot of songs, and I really love them. They take you somewhere, like on a journey. It's like getting you in a trance. Once I was lucky to go to Colorado to participate Sundance. I mean, just as a helper, I wasn't dancing, but I remember that they were playing the drums 4 days non-stop, and people were dancing, and that was magical. So I never forget that. So music was really important, but the contemporary music was too many of this flute music with echo. So that I didn't like that so much. So I tried to find performers who are closer to my taste, or how can I say that? And I really love Mari Siu and Joan Shenandoah and the Ulali music. So I was listening that, and that inspired me. And that also helps you to find the rhythm of the movie. So it also always goes hand by hand, doing the storyboard, writing the script, and listening the music. For me, this is how it works. So they were there from the beginning.
Réka, did COVID change the production much? I mean, you must have been well into production when COVID hit. Did you have to sort of rework your process at that point?
In a way, yes, but in a way, no. We just started the production when COVID hit. So the day we started, then COVID hit. And as we are working abroad and with international production, so we had everything up and running, the server and the online connection. And of course, we like to be together in the studio, but not all of our artists are sitting in the studio. So we're really working online as well. So it was a change in way, but it was not dramatic. So we haven't stopped a minute of the studio because some people could go in, like Áron was the only one to go in because we were really locked down. But we could work somehow via Zoom and online. And of course, when the COVID was over, it was much nicer and easier, and we were all together, and we were like enjoying to see just the scenes from one screener to the other. But it was technically it was fine. Emotionally, it was a different thing. But I always say that COVID took a lot from us because we were locked down alone. But on the other hand, I think it also brought us to a situation that we really needed one another, and this was a sort of escape from being locked down, that we were doing something extremely creative. So we could channel it into creativity, as far as I feel.
Yes, and can I say one thing? So when I was working alone in the office, that was a bit weird, but it was calm, so everything slowed down. And once I walked home in the night, because I wasn't allowed to drive the car, or some rules, and there was some ducks in the bus stop, and I was just working on a scene where the duck meet the old guy, or the old man, and I was walking home and the ducks were around because it was so empty. The whole town was so empty. So that was magical.
Did you stop to study them because you were?
Yeah, I was so happy because I was so alone for a year, working alone in the office. Everybody was home, and walking home and meeting these ducks. It was such a, I thought that I'm doing the right thing because I'm working with the duck in the studio, and I meet them on the street in an unusual place. So that was great.
When you were working on the scenes at the beginning and the end, the scenes that are set in the present day, were you trying to do a slightly different style in those scenes when we haven't gone into the myth yet?
Yes, we try to do these suited people a bit more like precise and less alive, and also the cars are more shiny and 3D. Yes. Yeah, to feel that there is a distance from that past storyline.
Do you feel like these myths do have a real connection to the current day, to things we should be thinking about now?
I don't like the current days. I don't like living in this time, this age. I think we should live much more simply. Everything is so overcomplicated for no reason. And when we go into the forest for 2 weeks every summer, and I see my children just running around, getting muddy and playing in the stream, and then watching the stars and falling asleep by the fire. So it's so simple and so relaxed and being in a present moment and not always rushing somewhere.
It's a Native American creational myth, but it's also highlighting the pressing need to live in harmony with the environment, live in harmony with the nature. So also with ourselves and to be kind to one another. I mean, these might seem really simple messages or simple words, but I think these are extremely important and primary needs of us that we're sometimes forgetting.
Yeah. I mean, you've both said in this conversation that making this movie changed you. So in what ways did it change you?
So for me, I don't believe in this myth anymore, which we all share in the West, called progress. So we have this thing called progress, and we strongly believe it. And I don't think that that's anything real. It's just the idea we're chasing, and there's no such thing. And this is what I learned from the natives during the making the story, that everything is going in cycles, and the present matters. The future is just an idea. The past is just a memory, and we kind of sacrifice everything for the future. And we think if we follow this so-called progress, then something good waits for us at the end. But we never get there.
I think our primary goal was to produce this feature film, but our goal was also to open a discussion about where we're from, where we're heading, who we are, and just to be kind to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the film doesn't end at 1 and 4 minutes. I hope it doesn't end. I think the discussion is moving on as we're discussing now, and I think it's extremely important to see how other people are living, what other people are thinking, and just to get to know each other, just to get a little bit closer to one another and to understand one another.
What does it mean to you to be selected as Hungary's submission in the Oscar race?
That was a nice surprise. We honestly didn't expect it, and I think it's a risky decision, but a good one, because it's animation.
The discussion now in the animation industry is that we would like to show the world animated film and animated feature films are real films, and I think it's a great message to all of us that Hungary has picked an animated feature film amongst the live action films. I think it's a great message for the animation professionals, and I'm very proud of it. So we're very proud of it.
So are you guys working on something now that we'll see in 7 years or so?
We don't have a time, we still have to take care of this film, but we planning to make a series of the original idea of making the series of Native American tales, but now as in cooperation with the Native American nations, and we already got a story from a reservation, Blackfeet reservation, and they said they want to see it on animation. They send us their own story, and it's a really good one, and I hope one day we can make it.
Yes, it would be really nice to move on with the Coyote tales, to make series where Coyote is the main character, and a series when each and every episode is coming from a different nation, different tribe.
Thanks very much for talking to us. For the audience, thank you for joining us. You can get access to exclusive content by becoming a member of Wrap Pro. Also, for other screening information, including past screenings you might have missed, please go to TheWrap.com and click on the Events tab.